Knox Country
Podcast Edition.
I've always been around great songwriters and artists my whole life. I'm Michael Knox. Welcome to my world.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jason Aldean, and you are listening to my boy Michael Knox on Knox Country
Podcast.
Welcome to the Knox Country Syndicated Radio Show podcast. We are here with award winner Adam Shoenfeld, songwriter, Bad to the Bone, lead guitarist, by the way.
Producer.
Thank you. I've won an award.
Record producer, too.
Ish.
Well, man, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man.
I've known you a very long time.
Yes.
But I want you to start back before me and you met each other, because you used to be in a lot of rock bands, a lot of jam bands, and then you made your way into this. Where I met you, you were playing live shows.
Right.
When I first met you. But you were also working a lot with John Rich and playing in some of those bands that he was kind of working through, you know, in his second tier of his career. So tell me how that all kind of started about you kind of coming onto Music Row.
Well, I think, you know, it was the Big and Rich thing, which was about the same time we met. But I actually got the gig playing for Big Kenny's solo project before Big and Rich. And then he lost his deal, and then he and I formed a band.
And what was that called?
Lovejoy, with some friends. When that disbanded, Big and Rich kind of happened, and they asked me to come along, mostly in the studio before the deal, doing demos with them, with Kenny and John in the country world, in that genre.
Now, my brother met you a long time ago, like jamming in some barn somewhere. You know.
I'm still having trouble placing that.
That sounds sketchy.
It was 5 years past your memory.
Yeah, I don't have those memories anymore.
But the first time I met you, the first time John introduced me to you was at Sony Studios.
Right.
You were leading his session or something.
Yeah, that's where we were doing all his demos. And that whole thing started with that, this Katie Darnell girl. I don't know if you remember that song she wrote. It was a girl, she was in Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, and Kenny and John and I went and sang for these kids to cheer them up. And we went in her room, and she said, well, I want to sing you guys a song. And it just kind of blew our mind. And I remember going home, and I think we had texting ability back then. I texted John, and I said, hey man, we need to go record that song. And he texted me back, already on it. You know, he had already thought about it. And so we all went in the studio, but that was the first time John used me in the studio.
Okay.
And it was with session guys. And then Martina McBride ended up cutting that song for Katie. And Katie passed on, but that was the entrance into, you know, kind of, if you could say, country, quote, I'm doing quotes for the people that can't see me. That was kind of the entry there. And then I started doing all his demos, and in the interim, Kenny and I were doing Lovejoy still, and John would come up on stage and do Lovejoy with us. He'd sit in with us, and Cowboy Troy would sit in, and the end part of it is Kenny telling us that he wants that to be Lovejoy, would be Lovejoy as it was, a 4-piece rock band with John Rich and Cowboy Troy. And of course we were all like, sorry, this is a rock band. And we know nothing against Troy and John, you know, they're friends of mine, and had no issue with them personally. It was just, we were kind of stubborn young kids that wanted to have a rock band. And it was fun that those guys came and sat in with us. But when it came to the big picture, we were a rock band, you know.
I saw y'all play once at 12th and Porter.
12th and Porter, yeah.
And dude, you were a rock god.
Oh, thanks.
You were a major guitar slinger.
What happened?
You know, I know you're still doing it. You know, and so that's the first time I saw you play, and I think that was around the same time. You know, I started working with Jason too. And we had always joked about trying to get you two guys to do a duet thing together as well, but that was kind of a little later on. But then, you know, Big and Rich started doing the Music Mafia thing,
right? And
then they got a record deal. And then you went on the road with them, and you were their main guy. You were their guitar player. Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. You were that sound, that guitar sound.
Yeah.
And you know, so it kind of, was that a fast thing? Was that a couple of years, or was it pretty fast?
Well, I'd say it was pretty fast. I mean, I think it was probably less than a year after Lovejoy disbanded, you know, and maybe the Mafia had been going on for a full year, maybe, that Kenny called me and said, guess what? Me and John got a record deal. Can you believe that? And I was like, yeah, I can.
But you went in
because I just quit, so it makes sense that you guys got a record deal.
Hey, maybe we should do that band thing we were talking about. No. But you went in and you played the whole record. You were the lead guitarist of the band. You went on the road with them, and you saw that whole thing. But I mean, I remembered everybody trying to protect you from other people, trying not to make sure that somebody don't outbid them to get you or to use you in the studios. I remember those things because at that time in country music, we, guys like me were wanting to do this. Yeah. We just didn't have the talent to do it in Nashville at that time. Now, there were great guitar players, but there were no guitar slingers. There were no Lenny Kravitz. There was no heavy metal, in country music at that time. Those guys that play that kind of guitar.
Well, and I think that's why I ended up needing to leave that camp, just because I was getting to where I was a little too settled in. Yeah. And at the same time we had been doing the Aldean stuff, that started up, and and of course they were all related. Come to think about Hicktown, which I think refresh my memory, Hicktown was the only song I played electric on the first record, right?
On the very first record. And
acoustic on half of the record. And
no, you played...
Michael, you have to tell the story about this.
I will. I hired
yesterday.
you to come in and play acoustic on the whole record. Right. Because I wanted somebody to play acoustic like an electric. Right. So I'm like, yeah, man, well, I'll use Jason's band. Right. Jack Sizemore and Kurt were playing electric on the whole album. Yeah. And I said, man, and I'll hire Adam to do acoustic so it will sound rock and roll. Right. So you were in here, you were doing your thing, everything was cool, and we were stumbling all over Hicktown. I was like, man, it just ain't right. Right. Something ain't right. And I said, hey, Adam, man, play that riff. Do you have your stuff with you? And you went out to your car, got your guitar, got your amp, brought it in. You go, guys, I got to be somewhere, but I'll run through this. And what you hear on the Hicktown record was your one take of showing Kurt and Jack how you played it on the demo. That's right. And you left, and right when you left, me, Pete, I think even there were several of us here, but me and Pete looked at each other, and I was like, yeah, man, we're going to keep that. Pan it to 2:00 and let's leave.
It's interesting to hear the story from this side. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
And I'll put a fiddle on the solo, right? Because you didn't have time to play the solo. Yeah, that's the only reason there's a fiddle on that song is because you left, and I'm like, yeah, man, we don't have time to come back in. Our budgets were tight back then. Right. It was like a $4 record. Yeah. And so we had a fiddle guy coming in on another song, and I just put him on Hicktown. And that's Hicktown. That's the only song you played electric on the whole record. Right. But let's go back a little bit because you were doing a lot of showcases too for guys, and you did some with Jason. You were doing some things. Did you like being the gun for hire? I mean, was that a cool thing for you?
It was all cool for me. It was, no matter what it was, I was playing guitar. So it kind of, no matter what it was, the fact, I think at that point, the fact that people were asking me to come play and paying me money to do it was like, okay, dream came true. I'm doing it. I'm actually making a living playing guitar. And that was the big thing. Yeah. I think still to this day, if I had time to do that, I would do it and enjoy it. But, I don't necessarily have time to do that kind of thing.
Well, the big thing I like talking about is that transition because I work with a lot of musicians and I worked with a lot of showcase musicians. And to find guys that can play in a showcase environment or play live and then bring them into the studio and they play to that level too, because it is two different things. That's what a lot of musicians kind of don't get. They think because they're this awesome live player that they can just walk in a pair of headphones and play, and it really isn't like that. And it's a hard thing to understand. I mean, did you find it difficult, or was it more something like you were? I took it as you were an artist, and we were trying to get what you were doing, and maybe that's what made it easier.
Maybe. I mean, it wasn't difficult for me. I guess I just always kind of came from this world of wanting to get it right. And so when I had my first opportunities in studios, I just really went for it and worked for it, and of course, before you met me, what didn't hurt was my first few years in Nashville working at Woodland Studios. And, I got paid to answer the phone, but I was in the studio, one of 3 studios all day long, every day, if it was available, and late at night, cutting my teeth, whether it be with Bob, the owner who had a publishing company, or whether it be with my friends.
Yeah. So did you have a home studio then?
A home studio was a Tascam Porta 1 back then. Well, or ADATs, but I didn't have ADATs.
I had a 4-track cassette.
That's what I had.
Recorder.
Yeah, my Porta 1.
So, but I mean, where did you learn? I mean, I'm sure it's just trial and error, but I'm trying to get to a thing where, because I watch you and Pete. Peter Coleman's my engineer, and I watch y'all talk, and y'all have a similar language, but y'all have never been together. Yeah. So it's like, hey man, move that microphone a quarter of an inch, or do this, because when you're playing live, you just turn it up.
Yeah.
It's all about juice. It isn't about quality.
You learn things. That's the other thing that, like, so a guy that might be amazing on stage he may be missing elements that you need in the studio, and he may only be missing them because of lack of experience. For example, I was on a session, not going to name names, but back in those days, I was on a session maybe a couple of years after we really got into the thick of it, and I felt a little more confident, and the guitar just sounded awful in my headphones. It was just, this is wrong, and I had to approach the engineer. It was you, Brandon. I had to approach the engineer and say, what are you doing to my guitar? I mean, it's, well, nothing. It's just, blend of these mics on it. And I'm like, blend of these mics. Okay. I walked down and I saw 5 mics on my cabinet. And I saw the one kind of mic I would have put on my cabinet and put it in the place I liked it, and left the other ones close to wherever they were, and walked back upstairs to the engineer, and I said, please just give me the 57 in my ears.
Yeah.
And once he did that, it sounded perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
So had I not done that, I would have been miserable the whole session. I probably wouldn't have played as well, because when it's knowing things like that, it's like one time on a session with Dan Huff producing, I was playing a 335, and I just, no matter how much I tuned the note of every string, every time I played this chord, it seemed out of tune. The guitar was intonated, strings were in tune, and Dan was like, you playing a 335? He said, why don't you do this next time? I want you to try it. When you get to just that string in the chord, in your strum, lighten up your touch just at that string, at the G string, and then follow through. And so I played it, which that was an interesting and difficult thing to do, to play 5 strings, one with one intensity, and just kind of lighten up for one. But lo and behold, all of a sudden that chord was in tune.
Yeah. What was the reasoning?
Just when you hit it a little harder, it made it sound sharp and out of tune. So if you softened up just on that one, it kind of just brought it down in pitch enough to where it settled in with the others enough. But Dan knowing that is because he experienced that.
Yeah.
Whereas had no one in the room experienced that, we would have been sitting there for several more takes going, it's just not in tune. The tuner says it's in tune. It's just like, so that kind of thing. So those live guys, there's a whole bunch of experience they just might be missing. Some of them may not be good in the studio at all.
I was about to say, don't underestimate the gift you have, because it takes I think a special artist to be such a personality on stage, and you can see that when someone watches you play live. I mean, you do have a personality. You're an artist, and then in the studio to create things that really only you could do. I mean, so just don't underestimate.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Your gifts.
Well,
thank you.
I use a lot of guitar players, and you're hands down my favorite guy. To use. You're my band leader.
Hear that, everyone?
Yeah.
This is Adam Shoenfeld, and you're listening to Knox Country
Podcast.
Well, you're my band leader in the studio, so but I see the look in your eyes too while you're playing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference too. Sometimes some people are showing up to play, and some people just play.
It still gets me off, man.
Yeah.
Hitting that chord, playing those notes, trying to get it right. It's just like, I just love doing it.
And I feel that me and you probably have cut 20 records together. 8 on Jason.
Yeah.
Probably 8 or 10 on other people. and I still sit in here and record with you like I still get excited like it's the first time I'm hearing you
I do
play.
too. Every time I play, part of that for me comes from feeling like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
There's part that it's just like I don't know what I'm doing, what's going to come out, and wow, I'm getting to do this still.
But I think that's the artist in you, because surely a great artist doesn't show up every day with a planned life. Surely an artist walks in and soaks the room up and turns it on that way. But now, okay, so you're out on the road with Big and Rich. Mm-hmm. I mean, back then, man, they were playing stadiums. It was a big deal. You went from a garage you don't even remember, a barn you don't even remember, to these stadiums, to these monster stadiums. So I've always considered you, a very sharp mind. So you've always had a production mind. You've always had a songwriter mind. Maybe just not knew how to put it all together. Right. So how did that first thing do when you're walking by and you're like, well, John, I want to write a song.
Yeah,
I want to write a song, because y'all and him did collaborate and had CSAC Song of the Year.
Well, yeah, and that one, interestingly enough, that specific song, Mississippi Girl, that wasn't me approaching John. There were plenty of times where, I ended up approaching him and wanting to write with him because he's such a good writer. That one, oddly enough, I was on the bus and he came up on the bus and said, "Hey man, I got the song idea. You want to write it with me?" And I think if my memory serves me correctly, my lucky day, he was going to write it with Kenny, and Kenny wasn't feeling good and said, "Why don't you go write it with Adam?" Yeah, and so he came up on the bus, invited me to write it, and had the half of the idea, and we worked on it, I think 30 minutes that day, because artists don't have much time on the road. So, and I think we revisited it another 30 minutes another day, if even 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, he was playing it for Faith, and she was liking it, and then she was recording it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that was a huge number one for her.
It was.
Like I said, CSAC Song of the Year.
Yeah.
Now, were y'all on the road with Faith? Were y'all touring with her?
That was on the first Big and Rich tour. We were opening for Tim, and she was out there with him.
Yeah.
Is that where you met Tim?
That is, yeah.
Yeah, because today you are Tim McGraw's lead guitarist.
Yeah.
So I don't want to jump too much because there's some things in the middle I want to talk about.
Yeah.
But did that help? I mean, was that where that relationship started?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And in fact, just, to go too far with the story before we get to the middle bits, when he was trying to I found this out later, after I got the gig, he said, I had asked if I asked Denny, our band leader, if he thought we could get Adam.
That's cool.
So he had asked Denny that before I had reached out. I got the gig because I sent an email to Tim, but I think I would have been asked regardless. So it was kind of interesting. But yeah, it's all because of that relationship. He liked the way I played from back then, and we got along fine. And so yeah, and then boom, here we are.
All right. Well, you got Mississippi Girl.
Mm-hmm.
You got this CSAC Song of the Year.
Yeah.
Did that lead into publishing deals? I mean, because
yeah, it did. Kenny gave me publishing deals as part of my deal with Big and Rich was not only was I a sideman, but Kenny gave me a great publishing deal for 3 years, which was awesome. And I wish I chased the songwriting bit a little more back then. As you've seen my journey with songwriting. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'd be that much better now had I chased it more back then. But that success from that song and the money from the publishing deals and all that really enabled me to be able to be the guitar player.
Yeah.
Because when there was 2 weeks that went by that I didn't have a gig, I didn't have to worry and go pour coffee because I had money from writing songs.
Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily use getting a hit song to my advantage as a songwriter at the time, but I did use it to my advantage in solidifying myself as a professional musician.
Yeah, but
overall.
you were busy playing.
Mm-hmm.
And some people don't understand it. Sometimes you do have to pick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because it's hard to write on the road when you're working on the road.
Yeah.
It's easy to write on the road when you're showing up.
Yeah.
Hanging out.
Yeah.
It's a different philosophy. I mean, but when you're living on the road, and it probably gets tough to find some of that type of inspiration.
Well, yeah, to find that inspiration to be, there's definitely a difference. Like now when I'm home off the road, I want to write something every day.
Yeah.
Because and yet something about the motion that you get on the bus that makes me want to write. But when you get into the routine of it, we're waking up on the bus in the parking lot, we're going in our hotel room, it's like, I told so and so I'd write today, how do I even have the energy? There's something
and the
about
parties didn't.
Yeah,
the party side of the road doesn't help.
well, there's that too. Back then, if you want to talk about back then, I actually wrote more back in the party days.
Did you?
Yeah, in the party days with Big and Rich, I think I was writing every day. I was in the back of the bus. In fact, kudos to all the guys in that band, and maybe they gave me this respect because I was the band leader and all that stuff, but I kind of took over the back lounge. I always tried to be inviting, but the guys always never bothered me and let me sit in that back lounge and write all the frickin' time, the time. And occasionally, like Ethan, who played bass with us, would come back and write with me. But I feel like I commandeered that whole space and was always doing it because you're young, you're in a new world, and it's fun. Whereas now, being older, you get on the road and it's like, I'm going to write, and then sorry, dude, I just don't have the inspiration because my walk to Starbucks was a little too long.
Well, but you got to remember, back then your inspiration is probably a lot lighter, in subject matter, where it's just like, oh man, I'm inspired, man. Well, let's write a song about a girl on a guy's shoulders.
Right.
Today you're an older guy, but you ain't old. But you're older, and your inspiration might be the big song.
Right.
Yeah, I need to write something that means, because I've lived so much.
Well, that's
I
true.
want to write something that reflects what I've lived.
Quality over quantity. Kind of comes into play.
When you're younger, man, I could outright Elton John at 14.
I just had somebody hand me four compact discs, if you remember what those are.
Yes.
Of my catalog that I had about that time, 4 discs worth of stuff I wrote, and I just sat and listened to most of it. So there must be, I don't know, 60, 70 songs. Yeah. And I think I like 6 of them, But you could write the crap and not give a shit. When you're young, you'll just write it all. You throw it all at the wall, and most of it will drip right off, and a couple will just stick.
So how was that? We're in the studio. We're cutting Laid Back on Jason Aldean that you wrote, you co-wrote, and you're playing guitar on it. Do you find yourself like trying a little harder
or critiquing it a little more?
No, you know what? I remember in that moment just kind of consciously trying to pretend it wasn't my song and not be excited about it.
Can you do that?
Kinda. I feel like you have to. I was the same way with Mississippi Girl. I separated myself from it. The whole process, from Faith liking it to saying she was going to record it to her actually recording it to it actually being a single. In my mind, I was like, whatever, And I kind of got there with Laid Back. I think, in the first 5-10 minutes we're listening to the song, I wanted to go shout it from the rooftops, But when I got out on the floor, I'm like, okay, all right, this is just another song. This is another song on the record, and I'm going to rock it out.
I like how everybody, when some of the band gets cuts on Jason's record and they're in there playing it, and everybody's like, hey, man, good song. Yeah. I like how everybody downplays it like it ain't a big deal. Just another song, whatever.
Well, I'll tell you the flip side, the sucky part, and you may not remember. You probably do remember this. This would be good for the listener to hear. The complete other side is there was another song of mine. I think it was something American or whatever. And you told me, you said, Jason's not going to want to sing that one lyric. And I'm like, whatever. Yeah, he will. And I remember it was down to, we were going to record one more song. And he was choosing, literally in front of me, the disc is sitting there on the table. There's my song that I wrote with David Lee Murphy, I believe, and Shane Miner. And this other song. And he's fingering back and forth between the two songs. He's like, well, I don't know. It's a bit of and I'm sitting there going, come on, rolling it's like I'm rolling the dice, and boom, he doesn't cut mine. And I'm like, so that's the other side of it. Oh, damn it.
And it was because that one line.
Yeah.
Probably.
No.
Probably was.
Because he didn't want to sing that lyric.
He didn't want to sing that line.
But looking at your body of work and the projects you've been on, of course, Aldean, Big and Rich. You go to Jake Gowen. You go to Luke Bryan, Toby Keith, and then Marie Osmond.
Well, that's just Nashville.
So what was that like?
Well, she wasn't there. That was hey, we got to cut this song for Marie Osmond. Here's the demo, or here's the tracks we're adding into, So that was the complete Nashville machine of Marie Osmond needs a song cut, and they want to cut it with Nashville players. Of course, she can't be here, and
did she end up releasing
did Donnie
it?
show up?
I don't even know if the producer was there. I want to say the producer had trust in whoever the band leader was, and it might have been Ilya, maybe. I don't remember.
I mean, did that song ever get released?
I think so.
Oh, well.
I mean, the compilation of work, the CD got released.
I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start saying,
just not show up.
Adam, you cut the next. I trust you. Mm-hmm. You cut the next Jason record. Give me the files, and I'll produce it.
You're not getting any more money.
I'd be like, no,
or credit. No extra money or credit. Just do it.
No. I said, what's different than no?
Yeah.
Knox Country Podcast Edition.
Some of you know me as a record producer for acts like Jason Aldean and Thomas Rhett. Others know me as the son of rock and roll legend Buddy Knox, Party Doll fame back in 1957. I'm Michael Knox. Welcome to my world. You're listening to Knox Country
Podcast.
Hey, this is Keith Urban.
What's up, y'all? It's your boys here, Florida Georgia Line.
Hey, this is Little Big Town.
And you're listening to Knox Country.
You've entered Knox Country.
Welcome back to the Knox Country Podcast.
But how do you like the production world?
Oh, I love it. Katie and I have a studio in the house now, and
Katie, your better half now.
My
Please
way
give her
better
props.
half, my wife, Katie.
What's Katie's old last name?
It's still Cook, but
It's
Cook
still-
Shoenfeld. But
So it's got a
Has she hyphenated, or she just is not using it?
she's using it.
Really? Good
I
for you.
I think your last name should come first.
We were going to do Show and Cook.
I think you should be called Adam Cook.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
It could be a second life.
Your
It could
wife
be-
is gorgeous and very lovely.
She's
Sweet.
She's amazing
lady.
But we're doing, we got the studio and so producing for me is everything from the duo her and I are doing to my rock band to Digital Brains is my rock band, which is a trio, Corey Boys and Danny Falo on bass. Corey Boys is a drummer. And Suncat is my duo with Katie.
So how did those come about?
The thing with Katie came together real naturally. We just, we're in a relationship. We started writing songs together. And the first handful of them just kind of came out of nowhere, and it was kind of magical, for lack of a better adjective.
Yeah.
And we just love making music together. And we finally did our first performance in front of people like a week ago.
How was
and
that?
it was like, oh wow, we can do this.
Where
This
was
is
that at?
awesome. Just at a church down in Brentwood in the yard under the trees.
When you
Awesome.
go into a church, do you burn anywhere?
I do burn, yes.
I didn't want to say it. I was thinking the exact same
Well,
thing.
we didn't have to
but-
walk into the church. And I had actually walked into that church before because it was my kids' daycare. So I had been in there and I wore flame
Tested
retardant
waters, yes.
clothes until I realized I wouldn't burn. So we're having a great time doing that, and my rock band, that thing.
You've been doing that a long time.
Well, I've been writing working on songs for years, and we're not doing all those songs anymore, but it made it come together, and it's like a true rock band. It's rock trio, Foo Fighters inspired, Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots,
That's cool.
and it's been so much fun. And that again, the first show for that too was this Bundle of Nerves. I was so nervous. It was like I played in front of 40,000 people before.
Yeah.
I'm about to come out on stage in front of 75 people, and I'm ready to vomit.
So is it different with you being up front as opposed to you sort of being the support where you can...
It was on those the first shows where you get nervous, and I came out on that stage and it was amazing and it went so well. And as soon as we were done, I'm like, let's do it again right now.
Yeah.
Were you more nervous for her, maybe?
Yes.
I
I back her up.
Yeah. No,
But she was
in the Suncat.
Yeah.
Well, Suncat is pretty even.
Yeah.
We're doing.
But you want her to do well. Now it's a different kind of partnership.
Oh yeah, we have. I think us dating, when we started dating, made our own personal things we wanted to do more clear and gave us the confidence to do it. Because I've all through the years, I mean, half the reason I think I turned down the duo idea with Jason was part of me. It was partly because of the Big and Rich thing, and I was involved in that. But it was also partly because I think I've had that fear of being that. When I was younger, it was like, I don't want to do that. I've seen what these guys go through. Why do I want to do that? But as soon as Katie and I got together, it was like, well, shit, I can do this. I can, of course, now I'm old, but
no, but she was in a band before, right?
Yeah, Reno, back in maybe 10, 15, well, 10, it was 15 at least years ago.
So is it like a Captain and Tennille moment? Or?
It's more like Sonny and Cher.
That's awesome.
But no, it's great. It's great. And I love doing both things. And the thing is, you know what? I think something can happen from both of them, even if it's the smallest thing. Yeah. And something already has happened. It's made me, I think having these bands has made me a better producer. Like I'm working on some tracks for more of our genre at home right now, and I hadn't in a while, and they're sounding better. And I don't know if I don't know exactly why, but just having that creative space right downstairs to go to every day, it's like,
like you said, the more you're doing it, too.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back a little bit, and you're doing a lot of sessions, you're playing a lot of things. Is there a moment when you're riding in the car one day and your song's popping on the radio, a song, something where you're like, holy crap, I didn't know I would ever be here?
Oh, it happened on the way here. Yeah.
Yeah, which song?
Drowns the Whiskey.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It came on. I'm like, oh, shit.
Because you've played on every Aldean album.
Yeah. It gets old for some people, like my daughter. I remember walking her into the orthodontist, and we sit down, there's a Jason song playing, and I looked at her and she looks at me like, shakes her head like, really, Dad? I didn't even say anything to
I think
her.
he sets it up like subconsciously, because I can go anywhere and it's like I'll hear an Aldean song, I'm like, I can't get away from you, Michael Knox.
And then I've been on so much, not to brag, but I've been on so much now that stuff will come on and I'll be like, is that me? Did I play? No,
you've asked me that before. Did I play on this song?
Yeah. Well, it's gotten to the point, it used to, when it's new and you haven't done it as much, you know what you played on.
I think it's the age. I think it's just your age, Adam.
It's like anything. It's like, this sounds really cocky, and I don't mean it to sound cocky, but when you've gotten to do this as much as we've gotten to do it, and we're very lucky to have been doing it this long, it feels like brushing your teeth sometimes in this town. Yeah. And that's why a song might come on you played on that you're not sure if it's even you.
Well, the thing that I love about you is you didn't, some musicians do this, some don't, you didn't get, we talked about this a lot, but you didn't get lost in the demo world. Right. You didn't let it stifle your creativity, because that's the thing that can happen around here. Some people play too much, and then it's a robot,
right?
And I think you staying out of the demo world as a way of life, and staying in the master world and going on the road. I think that's what kept that edge, and I think that's what people forget about is. Sometimes being in the demo world is cool, you make great money, but it really stifles your creativity because you're just going through the motions.
Yeah, you can definitely get numb.
But you kept it on. I have to be on today. Now you do demos. I know this, but it's not like some of these other cats that are doing 4 sessions a day, wearing it out and doing and there's a group of them that do that, and I feel sorry for them because they don't get to have your path where you're a rock god. I mean, you're a rock god in my world. I mean, you're the main guy. You're the first guy I call. Whenever somebody says, who's the best guitar player I name Adam Shoenfeld, period, hands down. And you're the best live player I've ever seen. You're the best, studio guy I've ever been in the room with.
Stop.
No, and he picked, as Adam's wanting, motioning for more compliments. But I mean, he always goes for it like come award season. You're always that first one. He wants so bad, probably just as much as you, to get that, ACM for best guitar.
You and Kurt Allison are my favorite live guys.
Yeah.
And you're my favorite both guy, live and studio.
Well, I appreciate that.
But you come off the stage with a very big presence, And I love that you can bring that in the studio. And I think that that's what makes the difference in my records.
Cool. Well, I appreciate that. I love you too, man.
Hey guys, it's Shalacy. Check us out on the web at knoxcountry360.com or on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at knoxcountry360.
Do you see that in your progression? Well, that because you might not have, you did get in demo world for a while, and but you got out of it. Thank God you got some gigs out on the road to pull you out of that.
No, like before I took the McGraw gig. Well, or let's go back even further. Big and Rich gig, I'm ready to quit that. Jason asked me to go on the road, but I say, I don't want to be on the road. I'm getting off the road, you know. So I get really entrenched in the session world. But then I get tired of it, you know, because it starts to burn you out. And it makes me go back on the road with Tim.
Yeah.
You know, and now 7 years into Tim, I'm like, I need a light year. Give me a light year. Like this year was so light. So now I'm like, yeah. So you get frustrated with each one. And I think that if you don't get frustrated with each one, I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's what causes what you're talking about. I think if you're cool, if you can just sit there and do the same thing over and over again, it's gonna, you know, there's some cats like look at like somebody like Mike Rojas. You know, he's cool doing the same thing every day. He rocks, and he's always badass. You know, but I think in other cases it can kill somebody, and maybe those are the people that get frustrated but don't know how to leave it. Yeah,
but I think those are the artists.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
the artists are the ones that are getting frustrated and want to do more. But I love that. I love the intensity that you bring to my sessions. You know, and the things
I just always want to kill it, man. I just always want it to be awesome.
Yeah, you are.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, I don't ever, if I feel like I'm playing something I've played before, it frustrates me. I don't want to play something I've played before.
All right. Well, we've talked about, you know, kind of something that turns you on, you heard on the radio. But what's the first one that you heard on the radio that you played and you were like, oh man, I sound awesome, or this is horrible?
Well, you know what? Even before Big and Rich, I mean, the first huge release was Big and Rich, Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. And
that wasn't big at all.
Yeah. You know, and I was in the video, and it was a big deal. And we, you know, of course, you know, we're young and we think it's a band, and of course it's John and Kenny. It's, you know, they got the record deal.
They split it 6 ways.
You know? Yeah, exactly right. But the Lovejoy stuff was great.
Did you hear it on the radio?
Lightning 100.
That's awesome.
Played it. So Lightning 100 played that stuff, and Disco Ball was our big song with Lightning 100. And this other song, I can't think of the title right now, but I remember that, you know, that was like, wow, I'm on the radio. It was the local station, but it was Nashville. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know? But definitely, you know, you go the step further. When it was Save a Horse, it was like, okay, wow, people are really talking about this, not just in Nashville.
Well, I remember the first time I was driving home from somewhere. It might have been Soundcheck, and I knew they were going to play Hicktown. So I pulled off into the Titans football stadium just to hear it. And it came on, and I was like, man, this is horrible. This sounds horrible. It don't sound nothing like the cut, you know, because the cut's so clear, and your guitar's hard right, you know, and it's just coming through. And then the 98 WSIX, whatever it was playing it. And it was just all distorted.
The radio
and,
compression and all that. Yeah.
And I was like going, well, you know, so I was real nervous first time I heard it. But come the solo, I just drove off. And as I got around the corner, it cleared up a little bit. And I was like, hey, this sounds pretty good, you know, coming around the corner. So I was just in a bad spot. So I remember the first time I was like, oh, God, this sounds horrible. Yeah. But your guitar was so loose and so off the cuff. I remember I got more phone calls and more conversations about that than any recording I had done as a first take up until She's Country.
Yeah.
And then when we did She's Country, which you played, I got the same reactions like, man, you got to replace these guitars. And we're like, no, because the only reason Hicktown made it through is the first time we went and played it at the label, they didn't have their right speaker plugged up. And it was funny. We were listening to it, and it was the fiddle, drums, bass, everything up the middle and the left. So steel All that stuff was in there, but the hard right was unplugged, so they didn't hear the electric. And they were like, this is incredible. And I'm like, something's missing, because I remember, because it catches you off guard. It's your first big thing. And about after the first verse, I go, man, the guitar's not here. So I didn't say anything because they were loving it. So, I was like going, are they going to like it when they hear that electric? Because I remember I got a phone call just thinking it was way too aggressive.
I didn't know that.
The electric.
That's awesome.
Oh, it was great. And
what's funny is that specific guitar tone is not that aggressive.
No.
And I've seen people online going, oh, it's a Les Paul with a Marshall and da-da-da. I'm like, that's a Strat through a Fender amp with a tube screamer. It's one of the smallest rock sounds.
Yeah.
Even though it's big, but
at that time, there was nothing like that on the radio.
Also,
let me sidestep here before I forget to say this. My guitar playing, you get credit for some of that too.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Because I wish people could see the way that we do it in here when we're doing a record, the way you and I work together and what it's become and how we know each other is so freaking cool. It's partly because of that I can go to other sessions and people go, yeah, that was good, whatever you just played, because you're Adam and you played something cool.
Well, I appreciate that.
I think I get that respect from other people because a lot in response to what we do here.
Well, I genuinely just think we're fans of the same. We want our guitars to sound the same.
Yeah.
And I got lucky finding a guy who likes what I like.
I like it when he looks at me and says things like that.
This is getting really awkward.
And you can just play what I'm hearing. And I love that. But people go through a lot of teams like that, and you try to find those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in here tracking when we track, and you got to admit that our band plays like they're live.
Hell yeah.
And, and there are other sessions that do those things, and that's cool. But, it's what works for us, but hands down, to me, the baddest guitar player in town is you. And I love that. But I don't even know what half those guitars are you bring in. I'm always like, hey, man.
Because I sold them all. Next time it's going to be a whole bunch of new ones.
Great. I'm sure your sound will be awesome.
Yeah,
hey, play the maroon one. Get out that white one. Play this one. I don't even know the names of them, and you'll pull out some, whatever. But I always look forward to the overdub process of what we do.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, Adam, I appreciate you being here, man.
Love you guys.
Great fan. Adam Shoenfeld, record producer, monster guitar god.
Cool, man.
Songwriter.
Rock on.
Knox Country.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Knox Country Podcast. Special thanks go out to co-host Miss Lacey Griffin and producer Donnie Walker. See you next time.
You've entered Knox Country Outtakes.
What's so bad is that, like, our memory, our short-term memory is gone. You can repeat something I said to you when we cut Hicktown 12 years ago, and a whole paragraph, and then just 5 seconds ago, this is Adam?
Hey, Adam, say toothpick, huh? Tuesday.
Okay.
Hey, y'all.
See?
Yeah, it ain't so easy now, is it?
There you
God.
How about that? Hey, did you play on Jordan Davis?
I don't know. I really don't.
Damn. She ever singles you up. She's there. Damn.
Do you hear that? You hear those guitars? Yeah, that's me. This is Adam Shoenfeld.
Hey, Adam, did you play on Kick the Dust Up?
By Luke Bryan?
Yes, I did.
This is cool guitars.
Let's play that one, gang.
Hey, this is Adam Shoenfeld, and you're listening to Knox. Wait a minute. Knox has a radio show? What the?
Knox Country Podcast Edition.